So now let's just jump in to episode 1 of The Last of Us.
Okay.
Episode 1 hit a little bit too hard because it was kind of frame for frame of the opening of The Last of Us game.
They just added more scenes.
They added that prequel scene.
My shit's rubbing off on you, bro.
It is. But they added that to kind of show us what
life was like before the outbreak.
What life is like and how serious this kind of threat is. They mentioned it. The time was like the 60s or something.
Yeah, it was during like a 60s interview. Like, hey, listen,
it wasn't even an interview.
Down,
it was a lecture.
Yeah, if we don't
college.
buckle down with this.
Not even bunker down. They were just explaining, hey, if anything like this would happen, this would only happen under these conditions.
Yeah.
And the global warming, would we call that the global warming anymore?
Yeah.
I heard it was like...
Is it a different name now?
Climate change,
but
that's the same thing. My sister was telling me it's not global warming anymore, and I'm not tuned in.
We're two boomers now?
Yeah, exactly.
We don't understand.
They were saying, like, hey, this is only going to happen under these specific circumstances. And guess what? We're heading in those specific circumstances. The earth is getting hotter. Winters are getting colder. Eventually, the winters are going to get hotter. And they're going to adapt to be able to survive in these nature. That's just the circle of life. That's evolution.
Yeah.
And so we got that scene, and it really kind of like brings us into reality for a second.
You're like, damn.
Like, this is a fictional show, a fictional game, but it really just hits us with some science to start with. And the people who get it, got it. You know, it's science. It's real life. This could happen. But the people who weren't that like knowledgeable about that, all of a sudden this show has you either like sitting up and forward, like wanting to go more, or has you laying back and thinking, is there shit like this out there?
Yeah.
Like there's actually like some, because he makes the example of like the ants, right?
Yeah.
It takes over
the ant's body,
and the ant is there, and he's
conscious. He just can't do anything about it.
Anything about it. He's just living his life without any control over
until
it.
like it starts like sprouting out of his head.
Yep, and it completely erases what it once was. So we get hit with that reality, and then we go and we're following a girl.
Joel's daughter,
What's her name again?
Sarah.
In the game, she's
Sasha.
white.
She's a white girl, yes.
And the
but
show,
also Joel's white in the show.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, in the game. And in the show, he's Hispanic.
with a African American daughter.
Yeah, and then his brother's also Hispanic.
Yeah,
I'm guessing the wife.
I didn't notice until you said that just now.
Yeah, Diego Luna's Hispanic.
I didn't know, but I didn't really put it together.
Yeah, Tommy and Joe are Hispanic in the show.
I did not.
And I'm guessing Joel's wife would have been black if his daughter is black.
I hate that.
Which is cool.
We don't get any information
about
her in the
not
game,
even in the game or the show. Nothing. You never hear about his wife or his baby mama, whoever it was.
So this is my sister's reaction when we first played.
Has she ever played the game or no?
She played it with me. I would play and she would watch. I was the original YouTuber in the house. I was like, you saw that? And so we're playing as Sarah. Her introduction to the game isn't that long.
Yeah, it's like a minute and a half, and then you give like Joe his birthday gift.
Yeah,
and you fall asleep,
and
then
then
shit pops off.
Scenes. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, then shit pops off. Yeah,
and so I had no idea what The Last of Us was when I got the game. I don't think we really knew too much about it.
Like the most we knew with trailers is that it was a zombie survival game. That's all we knew. They wouldn't give us much, so it was a fresh like. It's
a fresh game. It's
and
you
would think like, okay, this is the protagonist. This is who I'm starting as.
Exactly. That's the point my sister had. She was like, I can't believe they made us play as this girl and then they fucking killed her.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
And it's the same.
Sarah's dead.
It's the same thing in the show.
The same thing in the show.
We're following off her.
We're like,
with her day.
She's funny. She's quirky.
She goes to school. She's helping out her neighbors. She's buying her dad a watch. She's
fixing
following
her watch.
Yeah, fixing his watch. Right.
I'm like, okay, this is the protagonist of the show.
Exactly. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to like trick you into thinking this is the person we're supposed to follow.
And we follow her for 40 minutes.
Because even if people heard about the Last of Us game, right? Most people who have never played it think about, oh, it's an old man and a woman and a little girl. And so they turn it on. They're like, okay, here's the old man.
There's the little girl. I'm like, but he doesn't look that old. And then boom, we have a 20-year time jump after she gets murdered. Shit goes down.
Yeah.
And I was listening to, Game Theory.
Yes, Matt Pat.
Yeah. He has film theory. And he was explaining the first couple episodes, and he was like, the scene we get in episode 2, where it's the lady in the shop, and she tells them what happened, right? But the flour and shit, how you're not supposed to eat flour. So he predicted that scene. Yeah. But his episode came out later. He's like, I was too late. This was my theory, and I was too late to post it.
Yeah, because a lot of other people started doing that theory. I saw it from other channels, and I was like, that's actually pretty smart because he didn't eat the muffins.
They didn't eat the biscuits that the lady offered, or the cookies. Oh, yeah,
it was biscuits and cookies, not muffins. My bad.
The pancakes in the beginning,
The pancakes, too. He was like, we're out. And then when she said to get a cake, he forgot the cake. So they never ate
He forgets the cake in the game.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. No one ever brings it up again. In the game, it's implied that it could be flour, but it's never outright said. Exactly. But in the show, it is. It is outright said they got into the flour, people ate it, and in a few days, they all got infected. Mm-hmm. And as infected do, they tend to bite people, and then those people bite people, and those people... And it just became a shit.
So Texas, Matt Pat said, it was either, I think he said it was wheat, that Texas is a big producer of wheat. And that's why it was hit so hard, because they export the wheat out. Export the wheat out.
You're going to get demonetized because it thinks you're saying weed.
So that's why shit hit the fan so fast.
Because in episode 3 was he explaining it to Ellie?
Episode 2. When he first meets Ellie.
Yeah. No. When they're walking on the road, remember? And she's like, so how did the outbreak happen? With monkeys? And he's like, no, flour. And she's like, how did it like spread so fast? He's like, it took a week. The world was gone.
Yeah, that shit was.
That's like, think about that. A week and the world was.
You said something earlier in the car. You're like, imagine how fast COVID hit. Yeah, imagine like a zombie apocalypse.
With COVID, we had like a month and a half before it got to America, and even then, we prepared absolutely nothing.
No.
And then we got hit, and then it just became a global pandemic. So it's scary to me that we knew it was coming.
We knew it was coming, and we didn't do anything.
Not prepared
in real life. Like.
And then these people had no idea, and it hit them so quick and so hard that it was just gone. Everything gone in a week. That's nuts to me.
Do you realize the coasts are the first ones to drop? We saw Boston, how that looked like.
You're talking about the QZs,
yes.
Right? Yeah.
And in real life, that makes the most sense because we shit on these middle states for having nothing. It's like, it's boring. It's just farmland. It's just fields, nothing around it. Gas is like $1.25 because
but there's less people out there.
There's less people, and that's why Wyoming is so important in the show because there's nothing there. It's easier to settle. The winters are colder.
Yep.
Hopefully, the cold makes them slower.
Well, that's what I was going to say. In the games they do.
Happens.
In the games they do get slower.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they'll.
I want to
see
for the show. If that happens. That's what I'm really curious about. But that's what makes that kind of feel real because that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense that since the middle states have nothing, it'll be easier to kind of be
like clear
safer
them out and then make a settlement.
Exactly,
right?
and start big communities back up. And so that's really interesting to me.
Since you have so much land, you could start farming and watermilling.
Stay farming. Yeah. But the farmers are.
But I mean,
pretty much going to be
what
like.
What if there's wheat on the land? We got to get rid of it.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they were told that it was wheat in time to like stop doing that. So that also could be like.
Has anyone eaten any type of wheat products since they've announced what?
I wanted to say that because
I haven't. I don't know if I've noticed
in episode 2. While Joel and Tess was a character who was introduced in episode 1, are eating beef jerky. Ellie's eating a whole ass sandwich
and
a chicken sandwich.
I know, but she's
immune. So she's the only one eating like shit like bread.
But why would they still have bread around? Is what I'm saying.
I have no.
Why would Marlene have bread around? I would literally throw all of it out. I would not keep it around.
I don't know how bread
survives for that long unless they're still producing wheat. And why would they if that's what got everyone killed?
I have no idea. I have no idea. But Ellie's eating a sandwich.
Yeah, she does eat a sandwich.
No one.
She even makes a point about it. She's like, "What am I gonna do? Throw my fucking sandwich at them?"
Yeah,
because they wouldn't give her a gun.
No one eats anything else. Everything's like jerky.
That's what I'm trying to think of. Like, has anyone eaten bread? She's the only
person that's
because they eat like canned ravioli.
Yep.
They eat the beef jerky. They eat the canned peaches. Yep. They eat the beef canned stew. So yeah, there's no like wheat
on anything
besides the sandwich that she was eating. Yeah, that's crazy.
Which is interesting. So that leads us to episode 2. We've got Tess with us.
We get introduced to Tess
in episode 1.
Yeah, she's like being tortured by somebody, right?
Yep. Because just like in the game,
she was trying to sell or trying to buy a car battery, right?
Yep.
From somebody.
She traded guns.
Yes. But in the show, it wasn't. Did she trade guns?
No, she was trying to buy it outright.
Yeah, in the show, she traded guns, and
in the game, she traded guns.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys, I keep fucking it up. But yeah, and in the show, she's like, listen, you fucked up the deal, whatever. I'll let it go.
Yeah,
like just let me go.
That was a lie.
It was a lie. She's like, let me go, and I won't send like Joel after you because in the show, at least, it's very much stated that they are a romantic couple. They are romantically involved with each other. They've been together and they've been in each other's life for a very long time. While in the game, at least, it's only like kind of implied that they're like together, but it's very bare. Like you can take it as like, oh, they're just really good friends. But with this, like, no, they live together, they sleep together, they wake up together, and the moment that he sees that she's hurt, he immediately reacts.
Jumps
right?
up. He's like,
yeah. So like it's very clear that he's very protective of her, and that was his woman. He just is a very closed off person. Yeah, he's a very closed off person.
He doesn't want people to know that's his woman, his daughter, so they don't go after him, or like they try to.
That is kind
of like the Batman thing, where
that is a good point.
He tells Wonder Woman, he's like, I can never have a woman because they would get to me by going to her.
Batman and Wonder Woman.
Yeah, in the animated show.
Oh, Justice League. I was like, they are almost never together, but in that show they were together.
She wanted that bat dick.
Yeah. Yeah, in that show they were together.
She was like, I'm fucking Wonder Woman, bro. I don't need your protecting, okay?
True.
But so yeah, I feel like Joe could relate to that feeling of like, I don't want anybody to know that I care about people, so they don't use those people to hurt me.
But so she was in there, we get introduced to her, and then when she gets back to him, she immediately is like, no, we're going after them. We're getting our fucking car back, and we're gonna kill them. So and then that's where we start off, right? We start following Tess and Joel. We meet up at this meetup spot where he was supposed to be selling. The guy who beat her up was supposed to be selling the battery,
the guns
to
the Fireflies, the batteries
to the Fireflies. But again, the battery was never actually working.
It was not real.
It was real, but it just never worked. He was just scamming everybody. But eventually it caught up to him, and he got killed by all the Fireflies. Yep. And Joel and Tess arrive, and they're like, he's already dead. The battery doesn't work. What the hell are we gonna do now?
And then boom, we hear a noise.
Boom. A little girl jumps out of a room with a knife.
Try to stab Joel. He throws her across the hall, like
effortlessly.
When I say throw, I don't want you to think like he just pushed her to the ground.
No, he tosses her.
Her legs leave the floor.
He like tosses her into the wall.
He threw her on the wall,
and then kicks her knife away.
She bounces off the wall, and lands on the floor, and then he takes her knife away.
Yeah.
Which is the funniest introduction to a character.
For sure.
I think even better than the video game.
Yes.
I think I laughed so hard.
It's a very good one.
Because I can remember times playing the game and I'm with my sister and Ellie does something and I'm like, fucking Ellie. And as soon as he throws her and she hits the wall, I'm like, fucking Ellie. And then my sister said, hey, that's
what I noticed though?
To say.
He stands like Mando with his gun, and it was I was cracking the hell up. I didn't notice, bro. Because like in the games, Joel always holds his guns with both hands, and he like knows how to use a gun. But for some reason, the way Pedro held the gun in that scene, he was holding it the way Mando does when he's like in the suit.
At the hip?
Yeah, at the hip like this. And I was like, no way, this man hit the Mando stand in this show.
Universes are connected.
Funny as hell. But so
Earth is in Star Wars.
They meet Ellie, and then the leader of the Fireflies is like, hey, listen, I can get you a battery, I can get you a car, I can get you supplies, just please
bring this girl
here. And they're like, no. And then they walk back, they have a little conversation, and then Tess convinces Joel, like, listen, it's cargo, we can do this, it's easy, we get her there, we get everything we wanted. And he's like, fine.
Tommy.
Yeah, and
the reason is because he needs the car battery to get into a car and look for his younger brother.
Yeah. Who's we'll get to it later.
We'll get to that.
So they agree to it, and then they start making their way out of the QZ
as a group.
As a group, yes, and they get caught by a guard that we were introduced to a lot earlier that Joel was selling drugs to.
He's a drug addict
for ration cards, right?
Yeah.
And so he gets caught by him, which he told him not to be out at that time because he's like, I got to do my job. And if I catch you, I got to do my job.
Don't go out, period.
Yeah.
For an amount of time because we're cracking down. It's going to be harder. And don't put me in a weird spot that I have to do my job.
And he did.
And Joe didn't fucking listen.
He got caught by him. And then the guy was like, dude. And then he puts him on his knees.
Puts them all them on their knees. He takes out this weird.
If it wasn't for Ellie, I think they would have just been like shoot back into the QZ. But because she was marked as infected, he was like, "Oh no, I have to kill her." Right? Because most
you're remembering
people.
Wrong.
What do you mean?
They were on their knees.
Oh no, she stabs him, right?
Joel is talking.
Yeah,
he's trying to defuse the situation. He's like, "Hey man, we're just trying to get out. Like we're trying to do this," and he's like, "Bro, I've told you, don't fucking come out of here because you're gonna put me in a bad spot, and now I have to fucking report this." So he's about to report this.
But
he gets them on their knees.
Like
he does offer them. Yeah. He's like, hey, I'll give you the shit for free, bro. Like, don't even give me anything.
I'll give you the pills like half off. He's like, half off. It's free now.
Yeah,
if I let you go, and I want whatever the hell you're doing.
And now they're scanning. Yeah. Now he starts to scan everybody. And when he gets to Ellie, she stabs him.
Yeah.
And then
shit breaks off.
Shit breaks off. Joe kills him.
Yep.
By beating the fuck out of her.
But why does he do it?
Because he's about to kill Ellie. He's about to shoot Ellie.
And he doesn't want to be responsible for
a child's death.
Yeah, again. So he like.
But that's not the reason.
No,
listen.
It's like PTSD type shit.
That's not the reason. He doesn't verbatimly know that yet. It was just natural instinct that puts him back in a position where he wasn't able to help his daughter. And subconsciously he just jumped into it. You know, eventually we kind of like, as the episodes progressed, that we kind of like, he didn't want that to be Ellie.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a reason for that yet to care that much. But he knew he was there in a situation with a little girl in the same exact spot that he lost his little girl. And then
a soldier
he just saw red and he beat the fuck out of that guy's face.
Crazy. And Ellie smiled like a psychopath.
Yeah. Because Ellie has never had anybody care about them that way. Even though she can't exactly say that about Joel. She can't say. I mean, she's had someone care about her. At that point, she can't say, I am being protected. You know, no one has ever tried to protect her. Again, the closest thing that we could have had as a protector was the leader of the Fireflies.
And someone that they haven't introduced
yet.
She
shoved her away. She shoved her away.
Yeah.
She was like, go with Joel and Tess. Yeah. They'll handle you. I'm fucked up right now. So she failed at protecting, you know? And so we get that scene at the end where she is like smiling like a psychopath because she feels protected. And the creators of the show and the game say that Ellie has this overwhelming need to feel protected because that's just the child part of her. She wants to have a parent, a guardian, someone to protect and look over her. So she longs for that. She verbatimly says that she doesn't want to be left alone. And part of that...
Yes, one of the most recent, she says that her biggest fear is to be left alone. That's very powerful. I never connected the two things.
I'm a child. I want a parent. I need a parent, especially in this shitty fucking world with how things are going.
Yeah, I get you. I agree.
And then we kick off
episode 2.
No, that
was the end of episode 1, right?
We blurred the 2 episodes already.
Did we?
I think so. Because we don't get that far in episode 1. Because episode 1...
That was episode 2 then.
Yeah.
That was the end of episode 2.
So for this episode 2, it ends...
with that, right?
No, it ends with
beating?
Tess dying.
No.
Yes.
So, wait.
Episode 3 was Bill and Frank, which we'll
You're right. No, you're right. So at the end of episode 1 was the beating. End of episode 2 was Tess's death.
Tess's death.
Okay.
And at the halfway point, we had that scene in the building.
Yeah.
In the building where Tess ultimately gets bit.
Yes.
Joel still doesn't really believe that Ellie is the cure because
she
showed them her bite mark and it looked healed.
Exactly.
It looked like a little burn mark. It looked like a scab pretty much. Yeah. And so after they escape that building, they're in that Capitol building and Ellie notices that Tess is Bill because Tess is being desperate. She's like, you need to finish this job. Yeah. This job needs to be done. And then Joel's like, why? Let's just fucking cut our losses and go home. She's like, I can't go home for me.
Yeah.
And then she reveals the bite mark on her neck and it looks like shit. Like it's only been like 25 minutes and it looks pretty quick, bad.
Especially if you remember in episode 1 when the little kid got introduced to the Fedra base, if you look when he's being wheelchaired in, there's a sign that tells you like, oh, if you get bit from the neck up, it's like 10-15 minutes. From the body up, it's like 25 to 30 minutes. Leg up, like an hour to like 3 hours long. So like it is very consistent with that. You can tell that, she got bit here. She doesn't have that much longer to be a regular person before she like switches. So it's really cool that they like kept the continuity that they established.
So there's something you could easily forget.
Yeah, exactly. But they didn't, and it was really cool that they did that. And that scene weirded me out a little bit, but I understand why. Is the like her like accepting the death or like becoming part of the hive, and like it kissed her instead of bit her. It was like, okay. But I under like the way they explained it at the end of it. It was the fact that they're the way Neil Druckmann said it is that the cordyceps virus has no need to be violent if you're accepting of it. So it won't be violent to you if you're just accepting the death.
Exactly.
It would just kiss you and now you're infected. But if you're like,
it looks like a kiss because the
little spore thingies.
The spore thingies are naturally in your brain.
Yeah.
And they would, I guess, it come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
It would have been weird if it was the eyes and the nose and shit too, but that's a little too, I think, scary for TV.
But yeah, that's one thing that I was like, ooh, I don't like that. It made me uncomfortable. I was like, don't kiss. Ooh. Because she was like trying to light the thing, but the dude was getting back close to her.
So she was trying to buy Joel and Ellie some time to escape the building when a massive herd of them were approaching. And in her last human instinct, she finally got the lighter lit.
Yeah.
Building is set on fire, explodes eventually because there's a bunch of grenades and shit on the ground.
It's like there was like gasoline, grenades, everything around.
She really went out with a bang. Sponsored by Bang Energy. But so that's how we end that episode.
Yeah.
And they're on the road to meet a contact they had, Bill and Frank. That's what she tells them. They need to get to Bill and Frank, and they'll help them
know what they do,
get to where they need to go.
Yeah.